Welcome back to LMX, where we break down the latest political developments in South Africa. Today we're diving into a hot topic: the letters reportedly sent by big business to both the Democratic Alliance and the ANC regarding their roles in the Government of National Unity, or GNU. We'll explore who these big business players might be, what might happen if the DA leaves the government, and if the DA is overplaying its importance. Plus, we'll look at President Cyril Ramaphosa's strong message that business cannot dictate government decisions. Let's start by unpacking the term big business. When political parties refer to big business, they're typically talking about major corporations, influential industry leaders, and business lobby groups with significant sway over the economy. In South Africa, this might include leaders from sectors such as mining, finance, telecommunications, and retail. For instance, reports have mentioned letters signed by top figures from companies like Anglo American or Discovery companies that represent the interests of a significant portion of the country's economy. These business leaders are primarily concerned about political stability, investor confidence, and economic growth. The underlying message from big business is that a stable and functioning GNU is essential. They argue that if key political players start walking away, it could create economic instability and undermine investor confidence. But who exactly are they? While names aren't always disclosed, think of them as the leaders behind South Africa's biggest corporations who want a predictable policy environment, one where policies like tax changes or land reform are implemented in a way that doesn't disrupt the market. According to recent reports, the DA received a letter from these business leaders urging them to remain in the GNU. The reasoning is that without the DA's participation, markets could react negatively and the country could suffer from economic uncertainty. Simultaneously, similar letters were said to be sent to the ANC, emphasizing that working with the DA is essential for the country's overall progress. It's a clear signal. Business interests want unity at the top, regardless of the ideological differences between the parties. But let's ask the question: do these letters really have the power to shape government decisions? Now let's consider the scenario if the DA were to leave the government. The GNU is a coalition designed to stabilize governance after the ANC lost its long-held majority. The DA, as the largest opposition party in the coalition, plays a key role. Their departure could have several consequences. First, political instability. Coalition governments rely on all partners to maintain a majority in parliament. If the DA pulls out, it could trigger a vote of no confidence in the government. With the DA's 87 seats no longer available, the balance could tip, making it harder for the government to pass legislation. Second, economic fallout. Markets are highly sensitive to political stability. Investors could react negatively, the rand might weaken, and economic growth could stall. Business leaders, as we've seen, are concerned about these potential consequences. That's precisely why they are urging both parties to work together. Third, increased influence of radical parties. Should the DA exit, the ANC might be forced to work more closely with smaller, more radical parties, like the Economic Freedom Fighters or Jacob Zuma's MK. These parties hold very different views on economic policy, land reform, and governance. Such a shift could lead to more unpredictable policymaking and further polarization. In short, the DA's continued participation is seen by many as essential to maintaining not only political balance, but also economic confidence. The exit of a major player could unsettle the delicate equilibrium that the GNU is trying to achieve. Next, let's address whether the DA is overplaying its importance. Critics argue that by emphasizing their indispensable role, the DA might be trying to use the threat of leaving as leverage for more cabinet posts or better policy concessions. But here's the other side: coalition necessity. In any coalition, every partner's contribution is critical. The DA represents a significant share of the electorate and brings a pro-business perspective that can balance the ANC's policy priorities. Their participation isn't just about numbers, it also shapes debates on economic and social policy. Political bargaining. It's normal in coalition politics for parties to negotiate and assert their value. However, if the DA exaggerates its indispensability, it risks alienating other coalition members and may ultimately weaken the coalition. President Ramaphosa has already said that business cannot dictate government decisions, implying that while the DA's role is important, it is not so unique that external pressures from business should determine political outcomes. Ramaphosa's point is clear. No matter what letters or external pressures come from big business, the government's decisions will be guided by elected officials and the interests of all South Africans, not just by the demands of a few influential economic players. Speaking of which, President Cyril Ramaphosa recently made headlines by stating emphatically that big business cannot dictate what happens in government. His message was that while business leaders are important stakeholders, the ANC, indeed the government, will always make decisions based on what they believe is best for the people, not based on external pressure. This is a strong assertion of democratic governance. Ramaphosa is reminding us that, at the end of the day, policy decisions should reflect the will of the voters and the needs of the country. Business interests, no matter how influential, do not hold the ultimate veto power in our democracy. Let's summarize today's discussion. Who is big business? They are the influential corporate leaders and major companies that are deeply invested in South Africa's economic stability. They want a stable coalition government that inspires confidence in markets and investors. Consequences of the DA leaving the GNU. It could lead to political instability, economic fallout, and the rise of more radical parties within the government, threatening the very fabric of coalition governance. Is the DA overplaying its importance? While every coalition partner is important, the DA's tactics could be seen as leveraging its position for greater concessions. However, their role is genuinely significant in balancing policy and ensuring a stable government. Ramaphosa's stance. Despite external pressures, he asserts that South Africa's policies will be determined by elected officials and not dictated by business interests. In conclusion, while big business is clearly watching and lobbying for stability, the democratic process remains in the hands of the people and their representatives. The DA's decision to stay in, or leave, the coalition is not just a matter of political maneuvering. It has far-reaching implications for our country's future. As always, we'll be following these developments closely, and we'll bring you the latest updates as they unfold. If you enjoyed this deep dive into South African politics, please hit the like button, subscribe to LMX, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the DA is exaggerating its importance? How do you see the coalition evolving? Let us know. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.